this is something that is necessary for Bitcoin to reach its next epoch.
All right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I am Tom, and we are fortunate today to be joined by Bitfarms Chief Mining Officer, Ben, and I'm going to let him introduce himself. So I'm going to throw it to you, Ben, and just give us a little bit about who you are and what you do, please.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Ben Gagnon. I'm the Chief Mining Officer at Bitfarms. Bitfarms is a publicly traded Bitcoin mining company based out of Quebec, but we've grown to be so much bigger than just our Quebec operations. We're currently powering about 1.5% of the Bitcoin network, using over 33,000 different Bitcoin miners in 9 farms in 3 different countries around the world, and rapidly scaling that up to be about 8 exahash at the end of the year.
You're the Chief Mining Officer, so obviously that's a position unique to the mining industry.
Yes.
What's your, just without getting into detail, what's your overall, are you there with the machines? You know, you guys are in a lot of different locations and all that kind of stuff. What's your day look like?
Yeah, my day-to-day is mostly focused on high-level strategy, economics, and growing the company. There are occasionally, some times where I will get hands-on with the machine, but mostly that's long and done behind me.
I think I read in your profile that was in your past. You have some background in that, so you know how to get hands-on if you had to.
Yeah, I've been operating Bitcoin mines since 2015. I did this by myself for several years before I joined Bitfarms. I've been hands-on with the machines for many years, and I'll still help out occasionally. But my time is better spent on growing the company, high-level strategy, economics, and doing a lot more media outreach like podcasts.
Well, that's good, because those are all the exact things I want to talk to you about today. So I'm in the right place. I got the right person. So I just read you got 3 exahash up and running.
Yes.
And that was your goal, and I think, that was your goal by the end of the first quarter, and you hit it right at the, just within a few days of that. So, I track, for those of my viewers, I track all the Bitcoin miners very closely, and you guys have been a miner that has stayed on track with your plan, and you've had this 8 exahash plan for quite some time now.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk about it. Looks like you hit your 3 exahash mark. I just wanted to talk in general about getting from 3 to 8, which I think you're looking to do by the end of the year.
Yes. Yeah, our goal is still 8 exahash by the end of the year. And you're right, we have been very good about, historically hitting our goals. And I think that, is in large part due to our 4 or 5 years worth of operations here in Quebec and building up a solid team of operators. We have the experience to know exactly how long things are going to take and adjust when there's, new developments like COVID shipping logistical challenges and that sort of thing. So we've done very good at that. And with the 8 exahash number, what we're contracted for with the machines is about 7.2 exahash. So we have 2 primary Bitcoin mining equipment orders for this year. The first one is for 48,000 miners from MicroBT. This is all contracted out at $38.50 a terahash. So it's one of the best publicly disclosed prices in the industry. We were able to take advantage of the pullback right after the China mining ban to Bitcoin at 30K and lock in that pricing at a really, really advantageous terms to Bitfarms. And then we also have a smaller order of just 1,200 of the new Bitmain S19 XP Pros that we're going to be testing out and seeing what the full capabilities of those machines are. So with our existing fleet and those orders, that's is what gets us to 7.2. And then there's still plenty of other opportunities for us to fill in that gap, the remaining 10% of the way, utilizing another miner purchase or spot purchases.
Okay, yeah. So I've been trying to do the math with all of the documents you guys put out, and, there's a little overlap. So thank you. I appreciate that. 7.2 was the number I was looking for. So you guys basically have, between what's up and running and what's purchase ordered to be delivered and scheduled to be delivered, you're at 7.2, and you're just looking to make up that 0.8 to get to 8.0 by the end of the year. The micro BTs, are those the 100s?
Yeah, well, I mean, we get a variety of models, but 100 is the average across the 48,000 that we have. But when you're buying miners in the quantities that we're buying, we really do get every single unit that comes off the lot.
Right.
Just the next tranche of miners, those are all going to Bitfarms. And so we have a wide variety of machines. Some of them are much beyond 100 terahash, and some of them are a bit below. But the MicroBT miners themselves are a fantastic unit. They're very, very reliable. They have very, very low hardware failure rates. They're very dense, and so it's easy for us to operate these miners at scale. And it was part of our strategic decision when we're growing our company out to 8 exahash. We had to choose the right equipment to do it. I think there's a big misconception in this industry that 1 terahash is 1 terahash, and while that's true on an economic standpoint, if you're running the math, how much does 1 terahash pay you? It's not true when you're looking at miners, and the miners from the different models and the different manufacturers and the different generations of models and the different even manufacturing locations, they all have different performance and different success rates. And so this MicroBT miner is something that we know that we're going to be able to operate at massive scale.
Is that pretty much what your fleet consists of right now, or do you have a mix of a lot of things?
We primarily are running M30S miners and S19J Pro miners, okay, with the majority being MicroBT miners. But we do have a little over 7,000 Bitmain miners, and we'll have a little over 8,000 at the end of the year.
Okay, so it sounds like you guys locked in a price at a very good time at a very good price. One thing I have noticed is, there's a lot of new Bitcoin mining companies popping up that maybe haven't even started yet. And, there was a series of very big announcements. We're buying this many, we're buying that many. And you guys were there. You had a 48,000, unit purchase. But it seems like that has slowed way down. I don't see, like the last 3-4 months, I don't see those kind of announcements coming out that, we've locked down the next 30,000 machines. Are you guys just taking a different strategy that you've got what you need, you're locked down, you're going to 8, and then you'll go from there? Or are you looking to shift more to the spot market, or might we expect to see like another big announcement at some point?
Yeah, I mean, the industry has changed a lot over the last, year and a half or so. At the beginning of 2021, machines were such a bottleneck for growth. They were in so high demand, but there was just no ability to scale up that production. As soon as the Chinese mining ban went into place, a lot of the infrastructure around the world that was dedicated to Bitcoin mining just evaporated. And China's the number one, operator of Bitcoin mining equipment prior to the mining ban, and then they fall almost immediately to zero. That means that there's a huge excess supply of both machines and machines to come. Right. And so as soon as that mining ban went into place, the real bottleneck to growth wasn't machines anymore. It was infrastructure. And so we focused our company on the infrastructure side of things and developing out new energy opportunities and new facilities to take advantage of this new market. And I think this is where we'll start to see this year, start to see companies starting to differentiate themselves a little bit. Last year was very easy to go out there and make a purchase for a large set of Bitcoin miners if you had the capital to do it. But actually deploying all those miners, turning them online, and getting your money back on those is very, very different game. And that's where we excel as a company. We've done this in our own vertical operations for going on 5 years now. We've done this multiple times across multiple generations of mining equipment, mining manufacturers, mining facility design. I mean, this is something that we really know how to handle, and we do this well in bull markets, and we've also survived halvings and bear markets. So, we know how to take advantage of these markets in the best way, and really, really position ourselves for the most growth possible.
So I see. Well, that leads me right into another thing that I wanted to talk about. So you guys have a lot of infrastructure going on. I think you have, I'm going to say off the top of my head, I think you got 9 farms operating already.
Yes.
Something to that extent, and more to come. So from an infrastructure standpoint, I mean, getting from 3 exahash to 8 exahash is a big leap. Are you guys, do you feel like you're on target with the infrastructure side of all of this? Or is
Yeah,
that,
I mean,
is that the next bottleneck? Because you guys really haven't had a bottleneck. You've been pretty much clockwork.
yeah, we're continuing to build out new facilities in multiple locations. We have the two new facilities that we just turned on in Quebec recently. Those got turned on, but they haven't been filled out to their full capacity. And so that's going to happen over a process of several more months still. We have new opportunities in the new facilities being built down in South America. And we have other facilities as well and other new opportunities that we're working to develop. I mean, we do need a decent amount of our production to come from our new facilities in Argentina, but between the facilities down south, the facilities up here in North America, we've got a very clear pathway to 7.2. And then it's really just that 800 petahash balance difference that we're still working on other developments to meet the gap on.
Okay, so it looked like, from what I was reading through your most recent press release, it looks like a lot of the 48,000 machines are actually coming to Canada.
Yes.
So I think maybe it was 20,000 or 25,000, and I think 27,000 were going to Argentina. Does that sound right?
Yes, that's the map.
Okay, yeah, because I think a lot of people are assuming that's all going to Argentina, but actually quite a bit of those seem to be going to Canada. And the difference being, leading to my next topic, is I think all your farms right now are hydro. Is that?
Yes. Yeah, so, you're right, it's 20,000 and 27,000 miners. 20,000 are going into Quebec. Those two new facilities that we talked about are going to be all filled out with this brand new equipment. And the 9 facilities that we operate right now in the 3 countries are all powered by hydroelectric. And this is a unique strategy that Bitfarms has of going after these areas where there exists huge amounts of excess hydroelectric infrastructure that used to power industry, which has just gone away, or at least in the case of Paraguay, never really materialized in the first place. But these jurisdictions, they've all invested heavily in that hydroelectric infrastructure as a vehicle for the economic growth of that area. And they know that, it's crucial to bringing in the investment, creating the jobs, creating the tax revenue bases in those areas. And so that's what we've tapped into in Quebec. It's what we've tapped into in Washington. It's what we've also tapped into in Paraguay as well. 3 areas with just huge excessive amounts of hydroelectricity without the distribution and transmission or industrial demand to actually consume and monetize it all. And so that's a huge focus of interest for us is those sources of power in those kind of situations.
So I was going to ask you, in Paraguay, I think that's a 10 megawatt capacity at the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know Paraguay and Argentina border each other, but Argentina's a big place. Are those facilities in anywhere close proximity, or is that not really?
It's about an hour flight. But the way that we really like to, set up in new territories, we like to have an established footprint. And so that site in Paraguay is a 10 megawatt site, but in a lot of ways it was a trial for us going into South America, with our new South American team, setting up our first facilities, going through the importation process and the contracts and everything else, and making sure that we have a viable product. And what we did there in Paraguay was very clever. We took a number of older miners, which were still very productive, but because of the China mining ban, don't really have a lot of resale value. There's so many new miners out there that these older miners, while they're still very profitable, just are being sold at a discount. And right. So we had an opportunity here to keep those miners generating, very profitable, good cash flows for many years, minimize the capital investment that we put into the new site in Paraguay, but also, establish this baseline test for Paraguay and see if we can expand this model outward. And the Paraguay site has been a tremendous success. I just got back from there a few weeks ago. We've built a Quebec quality facility in Paraguay with costs below what we have in Quebec. And we see lots of potential there in that area to expand further. It's the exact same strategy that we had in Washington with our acquisition there, and now looking to grow further into more opportunities in Washington State as well.
So in the Washington is hydroelectricity as well, I believe.
Yes.
In Paraguay, is that going to be it? You got 10 megawatts and that was a test run and that's it? Or is there opportunity for that to expand?
We're actively exploring that region. We think there's a lot of good potential down in Paraguay and a couple of other areas of South America as well. It's something that I think most of the other public Bitcoin mining companies have overlooked. But we do have a couple of co-founders who are from Argentina and Buenos Aires. They're entrepreneurs down there. They know how to operate down in South America, and it's a key part of that strategy. If we didn't have the South American experience and the South American connection, I don't think we would go down there either.
Right, execution is going to be everything down there. It's so far away from Canada, and it's a different environment in so many different ways, not only in temperature and climate and all that, but in different country. So
yes,
it sounds like you. So where are you at in the Argentina facilities? That I'm looking at, and it looks like ultimately that's going to be 200 megawatts, but I assume that's not phase one.
No, Argentina is split into multiple phases. We've changed a little bit in terms of the deployment plan and the construction plan for this year. We're just going to be building out the first 100 megawatts at the Argentina site this year, with the remaining 110 megawatts left to develop for next year. The thought being there is that, and this is something that we recently talked about in our quarterlies, but there's a very dynamic changing situation down there in Argentina. And we are continuing to build out that site, but we're also evaluating the opportunity as it's developing right now. And we don't necessarily want to rush the development of the project as this economic situation unfolds. We're just going to go forward with what we think is a more prudent development for this year and still achieve all of our goals.
Right, and it seems like even the 100 is more than enough to power the machines you're sending there for now. So the big difference in Argentina being that I think we're talking natural gas now, which is new for you guys.
Gas site.
Obviously, this has been a massive, massive topic, and at the Bitcoin 2022 conference, and it's just it seems like it's overwhelmingly dominating the conversation right now. What are you guys looking at from an ESG standpoint? I know so far you've been basically 100% hydro, I think. So I don't know if that's zero carbon emissions or it's obviously very environmentally friendly. I know natural gas is a lot more environmentally friendly than some of the other alternatives, but it will be something that you're getting into that's not 100% pure. And I won't put you on the spot to talk about any people, but I'll say, you got guys like Kevin O'Leary out there who are running around trying to sell a story that everybody needs to be 100%, perfect carbon footprint of zero by immediately, or else they're not a good miner. So, how do you guys view that?
Well, this is something that we did very early on as a company based in Quebec. We became a completely hydroelectric company. And there's numerous benefits for that. Obviously there's the environmental side of things, but for us, I think we really focus on the economics when we're looking at new deployments. And as a Bitcoin mining company, we are profit maximalists. We have to be. This is a very, very competitive industry. And, if we're not generating a high enough margin, really that means that we're at risk on the downside, right? The way that we structure our business is by focusing on taking control of what we can. We can't control Bitcoin price. We can't control how quickly the network grows. We can control how quickly we grow, and we can control our cost to do that. And so that's what we focus on. And we are trying to plan out these new developments and these new opportunities to at least capture that full profitable lifespan of the miners that we're buying today. And we know from experience that the Bitcoin miners that we're buying today, should be generating profitable, useful cash flows for 5 to 7 years. And so we're looking for facilities and locations with power where, hey, not only is the power and the economics attractive today, but this is attractive in the long term, because on a 5 to 7 year time frame, we're going through one, possibly even two halvings. And so that focus on cost reduction and efficiency is very, very key to being a long-term player in this industry. And that's the primary determinant when we're looking to buy these and develop these new sites. And so nat gas is something that is very interesting. There's a big opportunity with natural gas. It is a very clean fuel source. And the reality is that there's a lot of situations where energy is being wasted all around the world. It's the same situation that we have in Quebec, Washington, and Paraguay, where there's all this excess energy, which actually can't be properly distributed and transmitted to the people who want to pay for it, and so gets wasted. And the same situation happens with gas. I think there are some good opportunities with gas because of that. But really for us, it's all about that cost equation.
Is the natural gas going to be at a lower cost than what you're doing right now in hydro, or are they similar?
It should be lower, but we're dealing with a lot of different changing market variables right now in natural gas in particular, which are making the picture a little bit more complex. So this is part of the reason why we've went to 100 this year, and we've just confirmed the 100 this year, because we're still trying to keep a close eye on nat gas, what's happening geopolitically on that front. If everything kind of subsides and the situation goes back to normal, nat gas is one of the cheapest power sources in the world. If situation continues to get more severe on the logistics side of things with energy, nat gas could be in for some higher prices in the short term.
That makes sense. So I assume you're actively also looking beyond that. We've got 8 exahash goal that you've had for quite some time, and it seems like you've lined that up nicely. And if all goes as planned, you'll be there by the end of the year. Well, it was kind of your 2-year plan when you started it. Now it's kind of a 1-year plan. What's next from there? Do you have a longer term exahash goal? I want to be at this by the halving, or where do you guys sit on that?
Yeah, we have lots of other goals and milestones within the company. We haven't actually disclosed any of them. That being said, we're a company that really believes in Bitcoin's decentralized ethos. And part of that means that, we're not putting all of our investment into one singular facility. We want to have multiple facilities, multiple jurisdictions, multiple suppliers and locations. And so when we're doing a strategy like that, that means we have to have a lot of irons in the fire. And that means we need to have a lot of kind of varied deployment schedules where, we're trying to have new facilities coming online consistently over time. And so we have opportunities in our pipeline that extend out as far as 2026. Wow. But, we're not providing guidance as a Bitcoin mining company 4 years out into the future. Right. And so we're really focused in on just, achieving our current milestones, our current targets. And, once we're closer to that, we'll be publicizing new ones as well.
So you guys are one of the few pure play Bitcoin miners. At the moment, I don't think you have your hands in. I think you were doing hosting and that's ended. I think, if I'm remembering correctly. So is that your intention? Do you guys plan to diversify and mine other things or be in other lines of business? Or are you guys all in on Bitcoin and you're just going to continue to grow the Bitcoin mining?
Yeah, we're all in on Bitcoin. We truly believe in Bitcoin and what it's doing for the world and all the users of Bitcoin around the world. And this is something that is an incredibly powerful industry that we really want to be a part of. And historically, we have mined other coins. We've mined Ethereum and Classic and Zcash and all these other things. But what we realized as a business, one, that's not really what we're passionate about. Two, that equipment is a lot harder to operate, especially at the scale that we're trying to operate at. And three, you don't really have the same predictability on that cash flow for 5-7 years. We know that with Bitcoin because this has hit a commoditized level of the hardware, but with things like Ethereum, Zcash, Litecoin. There's no guarantee that if you're making an investment in that miner today, that you're going to be able to run that 5 years from now, let alone 18 months from now, or honestly, even 3 to 6 months from now. And so we're focused on that long-term game. We're focused on a game of massive scale. And we really want to try and, restore trust to this trustless blockchain, because there's been a number of bad actors, I think, in Bitcoin's past that have really held the industry back, that have prevented institutional investment and adoption. And I think what we need to have companies out there who are operating transparently, who are clear about their numbers, who are trying to say, hey, you're interested in getting that Bitcoin mining exposure. Now let's worry about how do you do that, right? Because the counterparty risk is a whole nother thing. And we're trying to solve that problem. Make it very easy for the investors to understand and to verify, hey, these are our numbers. We're producing what we're producing. We're generating the cash flows that we're generating. And we're hitting the growth targets that we're planning to hit. And then, you can start that out as you will. I think if investors are seeking, diversification, I think that's something best for them to do at their portfolio level, right? Only they can truly know, what kind of diversification strategy they want. We're there to provide the investor with that pure play exposure in the least confusing way and in the most transparent and clear way.
Okay, that makes sense. That leads me to, so basically, if you're mining Bitcoin and your production numbers have been going up nicely, by the time you get to 8 exahash, you're going to have quite a bit per month that you're mining. Right now, you've been hodling the vast majority of that. I think maybe you spent 3 Bitcoin last month and stored the rest. And that's kind of been your strategy. So going forward, at some point, I feel like you can't hold them all forever. Have you guys thought about, just from a cash flow standpoint, there's an at the market shelf offering out there that you guys have that, I know a lot of investors worry about dilution. There's debt. I know you guys have actually structured some debt. I think you've drawn down on a $100 million line of credit, which I imagine you've used to buy the machines you were talking about. And it looked to me like the vast majority of that was all paid for. There's, I think, $86 million left for you guys to pay on that 48,000 machines. So that's not you saying that. That's me if it's wrong. So, so it seems like you're in a good position where you don't need to go get, $200 million or $500 million. So do you guys have you solidified a strategy, debt versus equity versus maybe spending some of your Bitcoin to minimize the dilution of the stock?
Yeah, there's a number of different financing options available to us, but as a player in this Bitcoin mining industry, cost of capital is everything, speed is everything. And so we're really trying to have a balanced approach. And the ATM program provides us with a lot of flexibility and a low cost of capital, albeit you do have dilution. But it's much lower cost of capital than, say, a private placement. We also have, like you said, the borrowing against our Bitcoin. That's one very powerful financing tool that we have, and it ties in with our treasury management strategy, where we think that Bitcoin is currently undervalued. We think that the long-term potential of Bitcoin and even the medium-term potential of Bitcoin is significantly greater than the cost of capital to borrow against that Bitcoin to fund our OPEX. And so even though we have incredibly high margins now, I think our Q4 reported margin was 84%, if I remember correctly. Even though we have those high margins, if we wait to sell that Bitcoin at, that we mined at 40,000, we wait to sell it at 60,000 or 80,000 or 100 or beyond that, those margins become infinitely better. And this is really, what we're here for. We're here to structure that low cost company, that low cost producer, so that we're able to afford the operating costs through other means. With an 84% gross mining margin, if we wanted to sell enough Bitcoins to fund OPEX, it wouldn't be that many Bitcoins out of our production. But we should enjoy much higher returns by selling that Bitcoin at a higher price, even when you include the cost of the capital bar against them. And in addition to that, we're also able to pursue a number of equipment financing deals. So we've done numerous equipment financings in the past where the collateral is just the miners. The miners are, a huge amount of the capital in the company. So if we can unlock that capital through financing and we can use that to finance more purchases and more growth, it's a very, very effective way to grow the business. So we've got a lot of different options in front of us. We continue to evaluate, more options, but treasury management in a Bitcoin business is something that you have to be very flexible with, because the price can go up or down at any given moment for any given reason. And so you can't put all your eggs in one basket. We really need to have that diversified approach in our financing options to ensure that we're able to fulfill our mission.
Is there, and that makes sense to me, is there a price? It sounds like you guys are definitely anticipating some growth in the price of Bitcoin, as I think are the rest of us. We're all patiently waiting. And a lot of that has to do with institutional money sitting on the sideline and, a lot of other reasons. I think there's some regulations coming that once there's a little bit of the uncertainty taken out of this equation, I think, for me, that's when I'm expecting Bitcoin to take off. So, I can't put a date on that, but do you guys have any forecasts or projections as to where you think Bitcoin goes? I mean, I just watched Kathy Woods predict that it's going to $1 million in the year 2030. So, that'd be great. But
I would also truly appreciate $1 million Bitcoin prices. To be honest with you, forecasting Bitcoin is kind of a fruitless exercise for us because, there's just no way to forecast something that has so much short-term volatility. What I do like to say with Bitcoin, though, is that we are trading that short-term volatility, which is a necessary component of being a free market. You have to have that short-term volatility to have price discovery, to have a free market. We trade that short-term volatility for long-term predictability and stability. And so we know exactly where the trend of Bitcoin is going over the long term. On the short term, how things happen and unfold is anybody's guess. And so what we do is, again, we're trying to position ourselves to be that low-cost producer. We have a number of different, sensitivity tables and analyses where we say, okay, based on the different size of the network growth and based on the different levels of Bitcoin price, up or down, these are the varieties of economic scenarios that we can expect to achieve. And some of them are, very unlikely. Some of them are very likely. And what we try and do is we say, let's position ourselves on this low cost center so that as long as, we're in this, quadrant where the costs are so low that we're, effectively profitable in any situation, because, less efficient producers will cede market share as the price goes down. The rest is upside, right? And so all of our forecasts and all of our modeling goes into trying to predict how competitive the network is going to be and trying to derive our cost position from that. Because for us, our cost to operate a machine is fixed. We have consistent electricity consumption, consistent electricity pricing, consistent rents, labor, insurance, all of those figures are fixed. So the cost to provide that terahash of compute power, constant. The revenue that it generates is very volatile. And the Bitcoin is easy to predict, but the US dollar value of those Bitcoins that it generates is very volatile. So we're just looking at every possible scenario. There's, some probability assignment, and we're trying to position ourselves on that low end to capture as much upside as possible.
All right. So before we go, is there anything else that you would like the world to know about Bitfarms?
Yeah. Bitfarms is doing a really important job here, securing the future economy for everyone around the world. And for Bitcoin really to reach those next level of development, this level where we get institutional adoption, we're going to have institutional level security. There's no way that institutions are going to adopt an asset class for international commerce, which is based on, computers in people's garages. They're going to want the certainty that comes from large-scale Bitcoin mining companies like Bitfarms, that are publicly traded, that disclose their information about their operations publicly, that have, a Big Four auditor to confirm that those numbers are actually real and transparent. This is something that is necessary for Bitcoin to reach its next epoch. And it's a big sign of things to come to see that there are institutional companies getting into Bitcoin, getting into Bitcoin mining. And I think that's a really, really bullish thing for Bitcoin price in the future.
All right. Thanks so much for your time. I wish you guys the best. I'm a Bitfarms investor, and I do videos on you guys regularly. So hopefully we can have you back on the show at some point in the future when you're allowed to give us some of those new exahash numbers.
Yeah, would love to do that.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.